Om. 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। ॐ श्रीकृष्ण परमात्मने नमः। अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता अष्टादशोऽध्यायः मोक्षसंन्यासयोगः। So yesterday we were looking at the Vedanti's argument about the Kamya Karma, Agnihotra Kamya Karma, Agnihotra as a Nitya Karma. I will just read a previous paragraph. The Shastra need not tell us how to get an immediate result, and why should it tell us to do something that is going to cause pain? In fact, doing a karma enjoined by the Veda helps us avoid pain. I do not know anything about an Agnihotra karma, and when I look into the Shastra, I find that it tells me that I must do this daily. I think this we already read, no? We were in Jnana as a sword, right? Avidya being the cause. Shall I read from here? I think this we had completed, no? I think this we had read twice. Still, I'll repeat. It is not possible to imagine that Sankalpa alone changes the result. Vedantis, if there is no difference in the nature of the karma, whether it is a Nitya karma or a Kamya karma, the result should be the same. But the Purva Mimamsaka says that there is a special result for Kamya karma, which is not there for Nitya Agnihotra. If the Agnihotra done as Kamya karma implies additional rituals, etc., we can say that it has some other result because something more is added. But there is nothing else added to the Agnihotra. Whether it is a Kamya Agnihotra or a Nitya Agnihotra, the method of doing it, iti kartavyata, does not change. That being so, the special result of heaven for the Kamya Karma can only be due to it being the result that is desired by the one performing the ritual. If the performer is the desirer of some result like heaven, Swarga, he has the result of heaven. But this cannot be a valid argument. It is like saying that if someone drives a car just for the sake of driving, he will not proceed anywhere. Whereas the one who drives to reach some destination will proceed. Is there any such thing? Suppose one person does the ritual for the sake of society and another does it for himself. Will the result be different? Because both are doing the same karma, the result will be the same. If one person goes around his neighborhood picking up trash because he wants to live in a clean surroundings, and another person does it because he wants his neighbors to be happy, the result of the action is the same. The neighborhood is cleaned up. Just because one person is without personal desire, nishkama, will there be a better result? Will the adjacent neighborhood also be free from garbage? No, he has only cleaned up his own neighborhood. The result is the same, even though the bhavana, the attitude is different. That attitude does not improve the result of the action. It is going to be the same. Or suppose one person runs cross country to get into the Guinness Book of Records, and another person, like Terry Fox, does it for the Cancer Society. Will the result be different? The result is the same in the sense that both cover the same number of miles, even though the first one is a Kamya Karma and the second one is not. The second one is a Nishkama Karma. There is no difference in the Karma Phala. The difference is only in the attitude. Therefore, it is untenable to say that Nitya Karma has no Punya Phala. Since there is no improvement in the way it is done, there should be no special result for the Kamya Karma. It should be the same as the result of the Nitya Karma. When the result is the same, how can you say that only the Nitya Karma produces no result, whereas the Kamya Karma produces heaven? This is not possible for anyone to imagine. There must also be an unseen result, adrishta phala, for the Nitya Karma. It is a karma that is enjoined by the Veda, and when it is done, there must necessarily be punya. Therefore, the original argument that there is no result for the Nitya Karma, but there is fault incurred if it is not done, akarane pratyavaya doshaha, is false. Nitya karma anusthana cannot remove karma totally, as it has its basis in ignorance. If he acknowledges that there is punya, there is another problem. Because there is punya for this karma, there has to be another birth, janma, to exhaust it. Also, though the karma may be able to neutralize the duritas that you brought with you and those that you gathered in this birth, it is not going to exhaust all the karmas standing in your account that has not yet begun to fructify. Anarabdha karma. Then again, we are not sure whether we can neutralize all the duritas simply by doing nitya karma. We may be able to neutralize some and minimize some, but we may not be able to totally eliminate all of them. If someone commits a homicide, he is not going to neutralize that with a couple of oblations. If he had killed a mosquito, it might be good enough, but not for something heinous. Every day we gather so many papas just to live our life because we cannot avoid them. We have to neutralize them, and for that we do daily Nitya Karma. It does produce an unseen result, Adrishta Phala, which may neutralize the papa that we collect day to day. Unless it produces a result, it is not going to neutralize anything. We have to produce an Adrishta Phala to neutralize the Adrishta Phala. It has to be of the same order of reality. Only the Adrishta Punya can neutralize the Adrishta Papa. And it can neutralize only the Prarabdha Papa Karma Phala, not the Anarabdha Papa Karma Phala. Therefore, a karma phala that has produced due to avidya, whether it is punya or papa, can be neutralized only by knowledge and not just doing the nitya karmas. So, consciously or unconsciously in our routine life, there are many papas which are done, and for neutralizing them, it cannot neutralize all by doing the prayers or nitya karma, but some of the, but only by knowledge it can neutralize. It is not by action. Let us see in detail how only the ignorance is causing all the problems. Avidya being the cause of all karma, Jnana alone destroys it in one stroke. Now Shankara comes back to his original statement. Knowledge is the only cause for the destruction of karma, which has its basis in ignorance. Every karma produces a result, and karma, as we have seen, is threefold in terms of the means of doing it. It can be physical, kaika, oral, vachika, or purely mental, manasa. Though all three, though all three imply the use of the mind, when you sing in praise of the Lord, two things are involved, the voice as well as the mind. Whereas when you do meditation, it becomes purely mental. If we look at karma in terms of these three means of doing an action, we have a general format for analyzing all forms of prayer. It does not matter whose prayer it is. It will be covered by this format. And every form of prayer is as valid as another, whether it is a Muslim's prayer or a Christian's prayer or a Jain's prayer or a Parsi's prayer or the prayer of someone from an African tribe, it is as valid as the Vedic prayer because prayer is prayer. Whether it is a Vedic prayer or any other prayer, there will be a result, punya. Now, by whom is this karma done? There is an agent who says, I am the doer. In the vision of the Gita and the Upanishads, you are not the doer. You are Sat Chit Ananda Atma and you perform no action. In your presence, all actions are done. The sense organs move about among their respective sense objects. Atma does not perform any action at all. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante. Aham na kinchit karma karomi. Therefore, to perform an action, you must have the avidya, ignorance, leading to the conclusion, I am the doer, karta. A karma that is done with this notion is born only of avidya, whether it is an auspicious Shubha karma, one that brings punya, or an inauspicious one, Ashubha, that brings papa. Both are based in ignorance, and therefore the cause for this exhaustion is knowledge alone. The Karta has been gathering a lot of karma in his various accounts due to ignorance. One account is a term deposit called Sanchita Karma. The second is a current account, the karma he is currently gathering, the Agami Karmas. Of course, there is the Prarabdha Karma, which is the third. All these are standing in the account of the Karta as long as the Karta is there. How are you going to exhaust them? By doing Nitya Karma or anything else, you are only adding to them. Or perhaps if you are doing them with the proper attitude as a yoga for gaining the right type of mind, as a result of those karmas, you will gain the right mind and you will come to appreciate the fact I am not the doer, I am a karta. Then, whatever karma has accumulated in your account, old or new, is destroyed by knowledge. Knowledge, Vidya, is the cause for their exhaustion in one stroke. Why one stroke? You knock off the kingpin, and when you do that, all that is resting on that falls apart. It is like the dreamer waking up. All the karmas done by that dreamer, good and bad, are cancelled. He cannot demand that someone that he loaned money to in the dream has to pay him back. If a person is accused like that, he can only say, if you meet me in your dream tonight, I will pay you then. This is a meaningless thing. Once a person wakes up to the reality of the Atma being a Karta, there is no longer any karma standing in his account. This is what we call moksha. The avidya is the kingpin. To kick that off, you have to bring in knowledge, vidya. So once that knowledge dawns, it is immediate. It doesn't take time. Just like when you cut the wood into part, it is the same. The feeling of a karta comes and then so knowledge is the only sword to remove the ignorance of kartritva. Total surrender is the surrender of ego. While some good karmas can neutralize some bad karmas, in order to eliminate karmas entirely, asheshatah, you have to eliminate the notion of being a karta, the kingpin. The notion I am the doer will not eliminate itself. People will say, surrender the ego. In Kali Yuga, surrender is the easiest. In fact, it is just the opposite. In any yuga, surrender is the most difficult. Why? Surrender itself is a very interesting thing. To whom should I surrender? If someone says, for example, that I should surrender to the king, this is an arrangement. I surrender to him and he gives me protection. It is the same with Bhagavan. What is that surrender? It is a contract. It is not surrender. I will do namaskara to you and you give me this much. This is not an act of surrender. It is just another type of contract. Surrender is not that easy. Who is to surrender? Mr. Ego. What does he have to surrender? Only himself. He cannot surrender anything else because it all belongs to Bhagavan. His body belongs to Bhagavan because it is a part of the creation. That is why it is illegal to commit suicide. The father has a claim over his son's body. The mother has claim, the state has a claim, all the bugs have a claim. They are all inside saying, this is our house. What claim do you have? Nothing belongs to you. And therefore, because you have nothing to surrender, you cannot surrender anything. All you have is your notion about yourself, your ahankara. That is the only thing you can surrender. How are you going to do that? The ahankara is the one who goes about surrendering everything else. How can he surrender himself? In order to surrender the I notion, ahankara, there must be another I, aham. All I have is the ahankara. If it is a this idam, I can surrender. I can remove the ahankara and give it to you. Who is to remove it? That is me. Therefore, I cannot surrender anything to anybody. That is why we keep on surrendering daily. My body, my wealth, everything belongs to you, O Lord. Tan man dhan sab kuch hai tera. Yesterday he said the same thing. Yesterday he gave away everything, and today also he does the same. How can he give the same thing repeatedly? Suppose you want to borrow some money, say $10,000, because your small business is in some trouble. Your friend gives you $10,000 as cash in an envelope. You are so very happy. And as you are happily going away, if he said to you, please leave that envelope behind. Why, you ask? He tells you, I will give it to you tomorrow. You thought, okay, when I'm getting $10,000, I can come tomorrow. It is no problem. So you return the money and go again tomorrow, and the same thing happens. Then you ask in exasperation, why do you keep doing this? And he tells you, because I have decided to give you 10,000 daily. How would you feel? This is adding insult to injury. Such a beautiful, profound example of surrendering. So I think it is surrendering moment to moment and not like keeping the envelope and saying that come tomorrow. I think, can we do Manana on this? because it is very profound.
Can you just repeat that paragraph again, Mila?
This 10,000 one or before that?
Yeah, this one, this one. The
Yeah,
ego, surrendering the ego.
yeah. Total surrender is the surrender of ego. While some good karmas can neutralize some bad karmas, in order to eliminate karmas entirely, asheshatah, you have to eliminate the notion of being a karta, the kingpin. The notion I am the doer will not eliminate itself. People will say, surrender the ego. In Kali Yuga, surrender is the easiest. In fact, it is just the opposite. In any yuga, surrender is the most difficult. Why? Surrender itself is a very interesting thing. To whom should I surrender? If someone says, for example, that I should surrender to the king, this is an arrangement. I surrender to him and he gives me protection. It is the same with Bhagwan. What is that surrender? It is a contract. It is not surrender. I will do namaskara to you and you give me this much. This is not an act of surrender. It is just another type of contract. Surrender is not that easy. Who is to surrender? Mr. Ego. What does he have to surrender? Only himself. He cannot surrender anything else because it all belongs to Bhagavan. His body belongs to Bhagavan because it is the part of creation, of the creation. That is why it is illegal to commit suicide. The father has a claim over his son's body, the mother has a claim, the state has a claim, all the bugs have a claim. They are all inside saying, this is our house. What claim do you have? Nothing belongs to you. And therefore, because you have nothing to surrender, you cannot surrender anything. All you have is your notion about yourself, your ahankara. That is the only thing you can surrender. How are you going to do that? The ahankara is the one who goes about surrendering everything else. How can he surrender himself? In order to surrender the I notion, ahankara, there must be another I, aham. All I have is the ahankara. If it is this idam, I can surrender. I can remove the ahankara and give it to you. Who is to remove it? That is me. Therefore, I cannot surrender anything to anybody. That is why we keep on surrendering daily. My body, my wealth, everything belongs to you, O Lord. Tan man dhan, sab kuch hai tera. Yesterday he said the same thing. Yesterday he gave away everything, and today also. He does the same. How can he give the same thing repeatedly? Suppose you want to borrow some money, say $10,000, because your business is in some trouble. Your friend gives you $10,000 as cash in an envelope. You are very happy. And as you are happily going away, if he said to you, please leave that envelope behind. Why, you ask? He tells you, I will give it to you tomorrow. You thought, okay, when I'm getting 10,000, I can come tomorrow. It is no problem. So you return the money and go again tomorrow. And the same thing happens. Then you ask in exasperation, why do you keep doing this? And he tells you, because I have decided to give you 10,000 daily, how would you feel? This is adding insult to injury. So profound. So we normally do the trading that if I do namaskara, you give me this. It is like kamya karma we do. And very beautifully, Swamiji has given the example. We do not have anything which we call our own, our this body, whatever it is not our own. Then what should we surrender? We know that. Suppose, like the example of a suicide is given, that when you want to commit suicide, you cannot do that because your own body is also not yours. Thousands of bacteria are there to claim your father, your mother. So when you have nothing to own, nothing to possess, what you have to surrender.
So even that Tanmana Dhanna Sab Tera is like giving that $10,000 envelope every day, and he's keeping it back with him, which is why you repeatedly surrender. So that is not surrender.
Every day we have to say by just saying is not surrender. That is
No,
that
it
the
is
meaning?
not. No, it is like giving
Hmm.
that $10,000 every day.
And
How can
taking
you
it
do it
back.
repeatedly? Yeah. If you surrender, and it should be a one-time act. You cannot keep
Hmm.
surrendering every day. That means what? You're keeping it back with you, which is why you're surrendering every day.
Hmm.
So that is not actual surrender.
Yeah, and it happens in the front of temple or in front of God when we are doing prayer. We believe that,
Mhm.
and when we are back to our work field
Yeah.
or karma kshetra, then we are the same. I am the doer. Mm. Very nice, very beautiful.
So because surrender also is actually through knowledge. It's jnana karma sannyasa. It is without jnana, there is no sanya, there is no surrender. Again, it's boiling down to the same thing, that I am a karta.
Mm.
So when you're a karta, what is it that you will surrender? What is there that you will surrender? So from that angle, if you see, surrender is only a notion again.
Very true,
I am
yeah.
surrendering. Who is this I who is surrendering? When there is only one, to whom will you surrender? And that only one is you. So there is it again amounts to being a notion. It's like we're fooling ourselves that we're surrendering. As long as there is no wisdom. But with wisdom, it's actually it all culminates in that knowledge.
And it is not even complicated. It is so simple, no?
Mm.
Mm.
It is so simple, but it is so like you forget like in day-to-day
Because
activities.
Yeah,
of
Yeah,
because
conditioning.
our orientation has been for so long that I am this, I am the body, mind, intellect, ego. So that identification is so strong that although we know this as a concept, to actually come out of it it's become like our skin. How can you remove your skin? So that identification has to loosen up. If it's as easy as peeling a banana, it'll be very simple. But it is not. It is like, so that identification, punah punaha, with this knowledge.
Yeah, we have to keep reminding ourselves.
Keep reminding us. The whole of Nirvana is to come basically.
Yeah. Day before yesterday, my friend was asking, like, the still that clinging with the problems with the children, like their problems, when they face problem, then you get affected. So she was asking me how to get rid of this this clinging. Like she heard one of the videos of Guruji in which he says about the stickiness of the halwa. So she was, how to stop that stickiness, to how can we stop it? So it's again like repeatedly repeatedly with the help of the knowledge, just thinking that we are not the doer, we disowning our doership basically. I'm nothing. It is all like whatever is the whatever destiny or whatever the children has, they have their own path, their own journey. We can only do prayer for them. So it is again that you just surrender and just do prayer and just leave. But still it comes repeatedly, no? Things come repeatedly. Yeah.
I think that is why that constant manana chintan of that, like tambura, what Prem Bhaiya tells, no? That like tambura, it should be
Surrender
at the
is the
back of our
only,
mind. It should
yeah,
continue that it is
continue.
only him and I am that.
I'm nothing. I'm just,
I'm nothing.
yeah.
I'm nothing at the same time. I'm everything
Yeah.
present in everybody. Mm.
And it's only the mode of surrender which takes you out from many situations around you. That
Very true.
that helps that to maintain that peace also inside. No, otherwise there is so much of turbulence. And once you have that feeling of surrender, you become calm and quiet, like as
Yeah,
if you have
Param
given your
Shanti.
burden
Param
to
Shanti.
somebody else. Yeah,
That
yeah,
Param Shanti comes. Very true.
Matchitta matparaha. We, keeping him in our mind all the time.
yeah,
And all those beautiful shlokas, manmana bhava madbhaktaha. Madhyaji mam namaskuru.
Namaskuru.
Mame vaishyasi satyam te. Pratijane priyosi me, I think. So it's a combination of these two. That there is nothing that belongs to me. It is everything. Everything belongs to him. And keeping him in our mind in all that we do. But how often are we able to do it? When we're doing manana, when we're doing our daily prayers, he's there. But are we consciously remembering him in our other activities? Because we're so mechanically, most of the times it's a mechanical, we get involved in our daily routine very mechanically. But are we alive to every moment?
Very true.
No? So if we are able to be that alive every moment, where your mind is in the present and not getting caught up in the past or future, that itself is honoring him, honoring that divinity inside.
Yeah, like performing the activities, I feel that I comes more often rather like you are engrossed in doing that activity. So at that time, you do not remember God. Uh, it's only when you are stuck somewhere, no, then you remember Him. Otherwise, we keep on doing that, the work with that I notion. I have to do this, I have to do now, I have to complete this. Oh, this is left. So it is always that I always whole day that I is happening. And only when some difficult situation or you some obstacle comes, then you remember God. Oh God, please help me. Like most of the time it is happening like this.
Which
Yeah,
is
but when
true.
we do
But when we
when we
do
do
things
prayers like it
100%,
is, yeah. Yeah.
when we do things 100%, keeping our mind in the present, it is a prayer. It is like it is equivalent to the prayer, isn't it? Because your mind is not getting lost here and there to the past or future. I think when we read this further, we'll understand how does one surrender the ego.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because though we are reading it and like it's been 2 years, still that tambura feeling, it is not happening still. Like even I do a jap, still it is like you miss when you are doing some activity, that mantra goes away, and then you recollect, and then you again start, like in your mind it starts, but it is not continuously, it is not going on. So it means that still that tapas is still, like naturally, it's a long way, but uh, trying to trying to inculcate every moment with that higher consciousness, you are joining yourself basically every time. It you still have a thought that the taking mantra do make you somewhere, like that peace and that connectivity, but uh, s- but still you forget in between when you are deeply in something, doing with so much of focus,
Yeah.
then you forget. So it
Madam
is
Maya comes into action.
yeah, you are engrossed in that activity so much that you forget that
Yeah.
too.
Maya Mem Sab comes in. And that veil of delusion,
Delusion, basically the veil of
right?
delusion. Yeah,
Mm.
right.
Brahmaraji, there is one question out of context. It is not related to what we have been reading or discussing. Anywhere in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan has mentioned about Devi Ma. Is it this Maya Trigunatmika only as a Shakti he has mentioned? This is just maybe I can keep it as a question for Nanaji, or maybe if anyone knows.
Yeah. What I know is that Arjuna actually prays to Durga Devi. There's a Durga Stuti that I don't know whether he's asked by Krishna to do it or he does it on his own. But
Okay.
there is an Arjuna Virachita Durga Stuti that he does. That is the
Okay.
only I know of Devi and the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Um, mm.
Otherwise, it was only the Prakriti and Maya is mentioned, right? Not anywhere directly that Purush and Prakriti like.
Right.
Mhm.
I think when they go to the Vanashram, in there some that stuti was done. I have no clarity, but what a little memory I have. Uh, maybe at the time that stuti was done.
Okay.
If I remember,
But
I
I'm
think
not sure.
remember
Yeah.
whether Nana told us this or it was Chayana. I can't remember who said that. There's a beautiful Durga Stuti. Because I remember when at one point we were learning to chant and we were having online during the peak of COVID, it was. And we picked up this Durga Stuti as well. And
Okay.
I think Maltiji might remember that. I don't know whether she's there, right?
Yeah. Okay, Dhanyavad. I did not know this. I will try to find out. I just wanted to know in any form there was a mention about Shakti in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Dhanyavad. I think meanwhile we can start writing the question for Nanaji so that Nanaji comes.
Correct.
I remember Chayanna saying this
Mm.
when he was teaching us Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna tells Arjuna before the start of the war, the day before the war was to start, there was anxiety in everybody's mind. So Krishna tells Arjuna, pray to Durgama for strength and victory. So I searched on the YouTube and internet, and I found that stuti. It comes under Bhishma Parva, Arjuna's stuti. It is called, and Arjuna praises Durgama in all the Devi forms, and asks her to be with him in the battlefield and bring success and victory. It's a
Wow.
very, I
Would
can
you
share
mind
it.
sharing? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Dhanyavad,
can share
Suman.
it. I'll share it in the group.
Yeah, Dhanyavad. Sumaji, you are just my rescue also today. Can you just continue to read? Either you or Dr. Mara, whoever is comfortable. I may be leaving, but I will be leaving little late. So I'm available sharing the screen as I will for
Which thing are you
how does
sharing?
yeah, this
Huh?
is the summary which I had shared you. This is the summary.
Summary. Oh, okay. All
Google
right.
Google
Summary of.
Drive, that Google Drive, that Google
Okay.
Drive.
Uh-huh.
I had shared you personally, Sumaji.
Yeah, yeah,
But you can
yeah.
continue reading. I can share the screen since I'll
Okay.
be going little 5-10 minutes late for the Kriya.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How my son
In
ready?
you'll be there for 10 minutes or
Yeah,
five
yeah, yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah. I can continue to read. Maybe somebody can
Okay.
read, whoever.
I can chip in, Bella. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Okay, then
Dhanyavad.
that would be good because I'm a bit irregular with the class, though I've been listening online. Um, I'm not in the flow.
No, no problem, Sumaji. I can continue for a few minutes. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can take over
thank you.
reading if I just continue sharing the screen.
Yeah, I can do the reading. Okay, I'll go open my computer and it'll take me some time. So you
No
continue and
problem.
yeah,
No problem. Dhanyavad.
thank you.
How does one surrender the ego? You cannot give the same thing again and again. But we are doing this every day to Bhagwan. Because he is Bhagwan, we can get away doing this. After this also, He is allowing us to be alive here. I'm not asking you to stop doing it because that prayer has a result which can be very helpful. But it is not surrender. There is only one surrender, and that is the dismissal of the ahankara. It can be dismissed in only one way, by inquiry. It cannot stand inquiry. Vicharam na sahate, because it is false. Sahate, I hope I read correctly. Therefore, the only way the karta can go is by inquiring into the nature of it. There again, there is a problem. How can I inquire into the ahankara if I go on asking the question, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? What answer will I get? The answer depends on my conclusion about myself because I am asking myself. If I think I am an idiot, that is what the answer is going to be. By asking the question, who am I? Repeatedly, how am I going to get an answer that is anything more than what I already know about myself? If I can know something more about myself, it is only about my psychology. That is all I can know. And that does not solve the problem. It does help, but it does not solve the problem completely. I repeat this whole thing.
One second. I will share the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can take over, Bella.
Yeah. Dhanyavad, Brahmaraji. Dhanyavad.
So I will read this once again. You're able to hear me clearly?
Yes, yes, very clearly.
So, how does one surrender the ego? You cannot give the same thing again and again. But we are doing this every day to Bhagavan. Because he is Bhagavan, we can get away doing this. After this also, he is allowing us to be alive here. I am not asking you to stop doing it because that prayer has a result which can be very helpful. But it is not surrender. There is only one surrender, and that is the dismissal of the ahankara. It can be dismissed in only one way, by inquiry. It cannot stand inquiry. Vicharam na sahate, because it is false. Therefore, the only way the karta can go is by inquiring into the nature of it. Like what Ramana Maharshi keeps saying. Who is this I? Keep asking, who am I? Who am I? There again, there is a problem. How can I inquire into the ahankara if I go on asking the question, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? What answer will I get? The answer depends on my conclusion about myself because I am asking myself. If I think I am an idiot, that is what the answer is going to be. By asking the question, who am I? Repeatedly, how am I going to get an answer that is anything more than what I already know about myself? If I can know something more about myself, it is only about my psychology. That is all I can know. And that does not solve the problem. It does help, but it does not solve the problem completely. There is no answer to this question unless you have a means of knowledge, pramana. When you inquire into the Vedanta Shastra, what is the subject matter? Atma alone. Even though we analyze the karmas like Agnihotra, where does it come back to? The one who does the karma, the karta. Again, it comes back to myself alone. This Atma is the subject matter of the inquiry here. The notion that I am the experiencer of the results of action, karma phala bhokta, or the one who does the karma, the karta, is analyzed in 100 different ways. And that sense of doership, kartritva, and everything centered on it will not go unless I conduct a Shastra Vichara, an inquiry into the Shastra. Thus, the Shastra becomes a mirror for me to look at myself, at what I am. The Ahankara does not really do any job here. It only disappears. The mind, buddhi, has an erroneous cognition, vritti, with reference to I, aham. The Shastra creates a vritti that destroys that erroneous cognition, revealing that I am Brahman, aham brahmasmi. This is the vritti which destroys the ahankara. Thereby, this knowledge is the cause for the destruction of all karma, not the practice of nitya karma. Nitya karma is the cause of antahkarana shuddhi. It creates the necessary atmosphere inside and the proper circumstances outside. It does make sure that I have a proper frame of mind and also a conducive situation to pursue this knowledge. That is all we require anyway. Then, when the vichara is there, knowledge will be there. That is the only way to destroy karma. I will repeat these two paragraphs again. So, how does one surrender the ego? You cannot give the same thing again and again. This is in reference to the ego, with that example given, that $10,000 envelope. But we are doing this every day. And then we say, Tanna Mana Dhan Sab Kuch Hai Tera. But we are doing this every day to Bhagavan. Because he is Bhagavan, we can get away doing this. After this, also, he is allowing us to be alive here. I am not asking you to stop doing it. So that being in that prayerful attitude and saying everything belongs to you is fine, because it amounts to being a prayer, because that prayer has a result which can be very helpful. So this prayer gives us the adrishta phala that can be helpful, but it is not surrender. So we cannot fool ourselves and say, oh, I'm surrendering. There is only one surrender, and that is the dismissal of the ahankara. It can be dismissed in only one way, by inquiry. It cannot stand inquiry, vicharam na sahate, because it is false. Therefore, the only way the karta can go is by inquiring into the nature of it. There again, there is a problem. How can I inquire into the ahankara? If I go on asking the question, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? What answer will I get? The answer depends on my conclusion about myself, because I am asking myself. If I think I am an idiot, that is what the answer is going to be. By asking the question, who am I, repeatedly, how am I going to get an answer that is anything more than what I already know about myself? If I can know something more about myself, it is only about my psychology. That is all I can know. And that does not solve the problem. It does help, but it does not solve the problem completely. So he's bringing down the importance, coming to the point that Shastra Vichara is important. Not just asking the question, who am I and who am I? There is no answer to this question unless you have a means of knowledge, pramana. When you inquire into the Vedanta Shastra, what is the subject matter? Atma alone. Even though we analyze the karmas like Agnihotra, where does it come back to? The one who does the karma, the karta. Again, it comes back to myself alone. This Atma is the subject matter of the inquiry here. The notion that I am the experiencer of the results of action, karma phala bhokta, or the one who does the karma, the karta, is analyzed in 100 different ways. And that sense of doership, kartritva, and everything centered on it will not go unless I conduct a Shastra Vichara, an inquiry into the Shastra. Thus, the Shastra becomes a mirror for me to look at myself, at what I am. The Ahankara does not really do any job here. It only disappears. The mind, buddhi, has an erroneous cognition, vritti, with reference to I, aham. The Shastra creates a vritti that destroys that erroneous cognition, revealing that I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. This is the vritti which destroys the ahankara. Thereby, this knowledge is the cause for the destruction of all karma, not the practice of nitya karma. Nitya karma is the cause of antakarana shuddhi. It creates the necessary atmosphere inside and the proper circumstances outside. It does make sure that I have a proper frame of mind and also a conducive situation to pursue this knowledge. That is all we require anyway. Then, when the vichara is there, knowledge will be there. That is the only way to destroy karma. So, how beautifully he's summarizing it and concluding that it is only through vichara, that is not just vichara, but through the means of pramana, which is shastra. So, through shastra vichara, this new vritti that gets created, as against that erroneous vritti that we've been having for lifetimes with regards to aham. So, instead of aham manaha, aham buddhi, aham ahankaraha, aham brahmasmi is the vritti that is created by Shastra, by the Shastra Vichara. And it is through that alone that you get out of the kartritva and bhoktritva. Nitya karma will not get you this moksha. It will only create, it has its own role to play. You cannot negate Nitya karma. Nitya karma creates that, prepares the mind, creates that antakarana shuddhi. And also, it makes sure that we have a proper frame of mind and a conducive situation to pursue this knowledge. So, all the adrishta phala that we get out of doing nitya karma will create this conducive situation. And that is the only way to destroy karma. All actions have their cause in ignorance and desire. Anyone wants to share, or we move ahead to this? Yeah. All actions have their cause in ignorance and desire. All types of action, whether scripturally enjoined or secular, have their cause in ignorance and desire. See, here comes that scripturally enjoined are those that are given by the Shastra, by the Shruti. Secular is all the daily activities we have. So both of them have their cause in ignorance and desire. Avidya kama bijam hi sarvameva karma.
You want me to be a bit loud? My volume is actually 100%. I'll come a little closer to the instrument. Let me know if this is working fine. First, the action implies the doer karta. Without looking at myself as a doer, there is no possibility of an action coming into being. We can also say that if I do not look upon myself as a karta, the action is only as though. But we are not talking about that here. We are not talking about the karma of a jnani who does not look upon the Atma as a doer and whose action is therefore cancelled, bhadita. His action cannot produce an unseen result. It is like a roasted seed which cannot sprout. This is knowledge, not just an attitude. If you have the attitude that because of Ishvara's grace, you are a doer, karta, you become a devotee, bhakta. That attitude will help you gain antakarana shuddhi because you can absorb the result of karma as it comes with the understanding that it is given by Ishvara. But that is purely an attitude. The knowledge that Atma is not a doer, that actionlessness is the nature of Atma, is not there. If that knowledge is absent, what will you have? Ignorance. When you say, I am a doer, karta, that is ignorance. Then, naturally, I become a small person. To understand that Atma is not a doer, I have to understand that Atma is Brahman. In the appreciation of Atma being Brahman, there is no sense of lack, and therefore, because of his fullness, Purnatva, there is no desire, kama. If ignorance is there, there will be doership, and then the desire, kama, to achieve small results cannot be avoided. Therefore, ignorance and desire, avidya and kama, are the cause for all forms of karma. Shall I continue with the rest, the next paragraph? So this is very clear that all actions have their cause in ignorance and desire. So whether they are vihita karmas based on what Shruti has said or secular karmas, it is only because of this avidya, because of ignorance. Ignorance of what? Aham Brahmasmi. That ignorance is there, and therefore you feel small. And because you feel small and you don't feel full, you don't have that purnatva, you go about doing activities in order to feel complete. So here he is not talking about a Vidvat sannyasi who has already realized that he is Brahman. When he is realized he is Brahman, there is Purnatva. So there is no sense of lack. So there is no avidya there. There is only knowledge. And therefore there is no desire to act. He acts only because the senses are acting. It is an as though action. But for all of us who are still to reach that goal, we have the attitude. The attitude is good to have. Attitude that everything is being given by Ishvara. Because then we can absorb the result of karma as it comes. I think I will read this paragraph one more time. All actions have their cause in ignorance and desire. All types of action, whether scripturally enjoined or secular, have their cause in ignorance and desire. First, the action implies the doer karta. Without looking at myself as a doer, there is no possibility of an action coming into being. We can also say that if I do not look upon myself as a karta, the action is only as though. But we are not talking about that here. We are not talking about the karma of a jnani who does not look upon the Atma as a doer and whose action is therefore cancelled, badita. His action cannot produce an unseen result. It is like a roasted seed which cannot sprout. This is knowledge, not just an attitude. If you have the attitude that because of Ishvara's grace you are a doer, karta, you become a devotee, bhakta. That attitude will help you gain antahkarana shuddhi because you can absorb the result of karma as it comes with the understanding that it is given by Ishvara. But that is purely an attitude. The knowledge that Atma is not a doer, that actionlessness is the nature of Atma, is not there. If that knowledge is absent, what will you have? Ignorance. When you say, I am a doer, karta, that is ignorance. Then naturally, I become a small person. To understand that Atma is not a doer, I have to understand that Atma is Brahman. In the appreciation of Atma being Brahman, there is no sense of lack. And therefore, because of his fullness, Purnatva, there is no desire, kama. If ignorance is there, there will be doership. And then the desire, kama, to achieve small results cannot be avoided. Therefore, ignorance and desire, avidya and kama, are the cause for all forms of karma. So beautifully explained. And this is the granthi, the knot, the basic knot, the fundamental knot, which is formed from avidya, kama, and karma. We are all bound by this. This hridaya granthi. So untying this knot is when you kama and karma you can take care of by your attitude. And how do we take care of avidya? By the sword of knowledge. Whole Gita Shastra talks of karma as meant for ajnanis and jnana nishta as meant for jnanis. It has been established by the Gita Shastra so far that the sphere of karma is only for the one who has ignorance. One must be ignorant in order to be the karta. Ignorance is the basis for performing desire-prompted activities. The sphere for the one who has knowledge, however, is a commitment to knowledge, jnana nishta, preceded by renunciation of all action, sarva karma sannyasa. Shankara quotes some verses here to remind us of how this has been shown throughout the Gita. Even karma yoga is for the one who is ignorant because it is a means, sadhana. Whether it is karma done as a yoga with right attitude or a desire-prompted action, kamya karma, all activity is centered on the ignorant. Whereas for the one who has no ignorance of the Atma, the commitment is to that or the abiding knowledge of that which leaves nothing to be desired, jnana nishtha. There is an adjective for this jnana nishtha in the Bhashya. Shankara says that it is characterized by or preceded by renunciation of all activities. He says, Sarva karma sannyasa purvika jnana nishtha. What does he mean? It is not that you should not do any action at all. Otherwise, Shankara could not have written this commentary. Can Lord Krishna teach without being active? Therefore, this renunciation is the renunciation of doership, kartritva. How are you going to renounce that? only in the wake of knowledge, jnana. There is no other way to give up all activity. We have seen that nobody can remain without activity even for a moment. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita. Even just living is not possible if there is no activity. Sharira yatra pichate na prasidhyeda karmanaha. Breathing is activity, eating is activity, sitting is activity, walking is activity. There is no person who is alive and who does not perform any action. But one can totally free oneself from all activities by knowing I am not a doer. These are the two things that are well established throughout the Gita. Karma is for the one who does not know Atma, and an abiding knowledge preceded by a renunciation of all action is for the one who knows. Shankara quotes some segments of a few verses from the Gita where this was already shown. He starts with, both do not know. Ubhautau navijani taha. Here Shankara is citing the verse that says that both, the one who looks upon the Atma as the one who kills, ya enam veti hantaram, that is, as the doer, and the one who looks upon the Atma as the one who is killed, yaschainam manyate hatam, that is, as the enjoyer, do not know the Atma. He starts with the most important fact. The Atma is not a doer or an enjoyer. Why does Krishna choose the action of killing to illustrate this? By the analogy of Prathama Mallanyaya, defeating the champion boxer, all other actions are automatically covered. For example, if you want to become a heavyweight champion in boxing, what should you do? Should you box with the entire humanity? No, you only need to defeat the existing heavyweight champion. Similarly, here there are many activities, but the worst one, the one that invokes the most hurt and guilt, is killing someone. Therefore, the verse says that both the one who looks upon oneself as one who has destroyed somebody and the one who looks upon oneself as being destroyed do not know the Atma. Why? Because the Atma does not destroy, nahanti, meaning it does not perform any action, nor does it get destroyed, nahanyate, that is, nor does it become an object of anybody's action. Therefore, Atma is neither the subject of action nor the object of action. Only if there is anything else can it be the subject or object. But there is nothing at all other than Atma. Atmanaha anyat kimapi nasti. The object is the Atma. The subject is also the Atma. Therefore, the subject-object distinction is purely mithya. What does all this say? That the Atma is not an agent and therefore there is no karma here. That is knowledge, jnana. To support this further, Shankara quotes Veda Vinashinam Nityam, quoting from the following verse. Veda Vinashinam Nityam Ya enam avyayam katham sapurusha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. I think this is from the second chapter. The one who knows that which is not subject to time and therefore not subject to destruction, the one who knows that Atma as himself. How does such a person destroy or cause destruction? Whom does he destroy? There are two types of action. You do it yourself or you make others do it. Either way, you are the prime agent. The Atma does neither of these types of action. In its sannidhi, in its presence, activities take place. Therefore, Atma is a karta, not a doer. Then again, Shankara quotes, Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yogina. There is the pursuit of knowledge for the renunciate and the pursuit of karma for the karma yogi. This is the verse in the third chapter in response to Arjuna's confusion about whether he should follow karma or renounce everything for moksha. He says to Krishna, in effect, you praise jnana and you also praise karma. I am confused. Which will give me moksha? Why do you confuse me like this? Why don't you say, this is right, do it? Lord Krishna answers that there is a twofold committed lifestyle for moksha given by him before. Lokesmin vividhanishta pura prokta mayanagha jnana yogena sankhyana karma yogena yogina. One is purely the pursuit of knowledge, and the other is the pursuit of knowledge with a life of karma yoga. Even though there are these two lifestyles, Shankara almost considers a karma sannyasi to be a jnani because he has given up karma for the sake of knowledge, and that knowledge will make him a sarva karma sannyasi in time. Then Shankara quotes, for those ignorant ones who are attached to karma, ajnanam karma sanginam. The rest of the verse says, do not disturb their minds. Na buddhi bhedam janayet. They are doing some good karma. Do not go and tell them that karma will not give them moksha. Do not disturb the attitude of such a person because he will give up the karma. Even though karma does not directly produce moksha, if a person is committed to karma, it is the only thing he can do to accomplish a certain frame of mind that will allow him to gain this knowledge. If you criticize karma to those who do not have discrimination, they will give up karma and will neither have the benefit of karma nor will they have knowledge. On the other hand, the one who knows the truth of this karma, tattvavid, knows, I do not perform any action at all. Naiva kinchit karomi iti manyeta. Whether seeing, hearing, talking, or doing anything else. It is the sense organs that move about among the sense objects. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante. The one who is a tattvavid, who knows that Atma does not perform any action, recognizing that only the gunas in the form of the senses, mind, etc., move about among the gunas, is not bound to karma or its results. Tattvavittu guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. Further, we saw in the fifth chapter, mentally renouncing all karmas, the one who has self-mastery, who indwells the body, remains seated happily in the nine-gated city, neither doing nor causing any action to be done. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan nakarayan. It is said that all karmas are given up. We understand by the word sarva that it is not one karma that is given up, but all. This is not possible unless one has knowledge. And therefore, the renunciation is not physical, but through the mind, manasa. Renouncing all karmas by knowing that the self is actionless, one remains happily seated in the body. He is always free from the weariness of karma and the disappointment, etc., of karma phala, where in this body itself, not after death, while the person is alive, in this physical body, he is liberated, neither doing any action nor causing anyone else to act. Naiva kurvan nakarayat. He remains always free from action, akarta. The one who knows the truth of Atma looks upon oneself as a person who does not perform any action at all. The one who knows the truth would think, I do not perform any action at all. Naiva kinchit karomi iti yukto manyeta tattvavit. He does not consider that he does even a small bit, kinchit, of an action, like thinking, for instance. He knows this while thinking, not later. That is why the present continuous is used. While seeing, pashyan, hearing, shrinvan, touching, sprishan, smelling, jigran, he knows that doing all these, he performs no action. Then Shankara says that by implication, we understand that the one who does not know the truth of Atma thinks that he does perform action. Seeing, he becomes a seer. Hearing, he becomes a hearer. Whatever he does, he becomes the agent of that action. Therefore, he looks upon himself as an action conditioned person. This goes on. It's a pretty long. Further, it was said in the 6th chapter that for the one who wants to gain this knowledge of the self, the mumukshu, karma becomes the means. Arurukshor muner yogam karma karanam uchyate. For the one who is an accomplished karma yogi or has gained the knowledge, renunciation of all activity, either relatively or absolutely, becomes the means for moksha. Yogarudasya tasyaiva shamah karanam uchyate. Then Shankara recalls the 7th chapter where it is said that there are 4 types of devotees. One is the devotee in distress, Artha, who implores the Lord to protect him when he is in trouble. This in itself is good because he thinks of the Lord at least when he is in trouble. Another one, the Artharthi, prays not only when in distress, but also when he begins any undertaking. In order to get the results he wants, he first thinks about the Lord and then starts his work. This one is better because he appreciates Ishvara a little more than the first one. He is interested in various pursuits and worships the Lord in the form of various deities and then starts his undertaking. Then the third one is a Jignasu, the one who wants to know Ishvara. He is better than the other two because he worships Ishvara not for any other end, but for knowing Ishvara. He is a karma yogi or a sannyasi. Whether you pursue only knowledge of Ishvara or pursue knowledge along with karma, you are a bhakta. All the words that are studied, the words of the Veda, are Bhagavan's words, and therefore the Jignasu looks upon the Veda as a pramana. This is Shraddha in the Veda, which is Shraddha in Bhagavan alone. Therefore, in the form of the words of Bhagavan, the one who wants to know, Jignasu, invokes Bhagavan. In time, he comes to know what the Shastra says and is called a Jnani. All of the first 3 devotees are good. Trayaha api udaraha, because they are devotees, but they are ignorant. The Jnani, on the other hand, Krishna says, is myself. Jnani tu atmaiva me matam. I think we'll stop here. We are on page 436. I think it's good to go back and read this. We've not done Manana on this, so tomorrow I think we will do Manana and then we'll continue. Required, we can read this one more time. From the whole Gita Shastra talks of karma is meant for Ajnanis and Jnana Nishta is meant for Jnanis. This is on page 433. Yeah. Jai Gurudev. But just summing up this whole train of thought, is that So karma is for the ajnani. And it's not just karma, it is karma yoga. And jnana nishta comes with that sarva karma sannyasa. And for any desire, any action, you require two things, avidya and kama. So in order to give up this karma, that avidya has to go. And that is only through knowledge. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
निरुपमनित्यनिरंशकेऽप्यखण्डे मयि चिति सर्वविकल्पनादिशून्ये घटयति जगदीश जीवभेदम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया श्रुतिशतनिगमान्तशोधकानपि अहह धनादिनिदर्शनेन सद्यः कलुषयति चतुष्पदाद्यभिन्ना न घटितघटना पडीयसी माया सुखचिदखण्डविबोधमद्वितीयम् वियदनलादिविनिर्मित्ते नियोज्य भ्रमयति भवसागरे नितान्तम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया अपगतगुणवर्णजातिभेदे सुखचितिविप्रविडार्यहङ्कृतिं च स्फुटयति सुतदारकेहमोहम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया विधिहरिहरविभेदमप्यखण्डे बत विरचय्य बुधानपि प्रकामम् भ्रमयति हरिहरविभेदभावान् घटितघटना पटीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया